We're just completing the PGL Copenhagen Major, the European RMR Group B. And there's some good things and some bad things to take away from this past week of Counter-Strike. So let's start with the good. For Mouse, a wonderful showing from Brolin and for the whole team. This is a team that had to replace Frozen, one of the most exciting and impactful players we have in Counter-Strike, and his departure to FaZe. But Brolin stepped into this squad, and they look great. Shuhei looks like the real deal of an up-and-coming in-game leader, of the next generation of in-game leader, and Mouse was able to sail through 3-0. The other team that goes 3-0 is Cloud9. Obviously, Boomich stepping in, and the whole conversation around Cloud9 is, they don't have an AWPer. How are they going to perform without an AWPer? But they've proved that they don't really need one quite yet. In today's game of MR12, of switching into CS2, they've been able to get by. Boomich has come back resurgent as an in-game leader, and for a team that's perennially considered underachievers, Cloud9 actually sailed through this process with good performances from Electronic, good performances from Boomich, good performances from Perfecto, and they look solid. Next up is going to be Vitality, and obviously, what more can you say about them? Best team in the world, probably going to be hands down the favorite to win the major overall. And individually for ZywOo, who in the midst of Donk Mania just showed that he's the best player in the world still to this day.
Let's go! Let's go! One more! Nice button!
Nice boys! Sick on A!
Nice communication!
ENCE as well deserves a lot of credit for their run, showing that the Katowice playoffs weren't just a fluke. Glaive has reinvented himself as an in-game leader, has shown that he's still got value to teams, and has shown that teams that, didn't think that he actually had it anymore, they were all dead wrong, because he's taken a Polish core powered by Hades on the AWP and had a beautiful upset over Astralis to qualify for the major. And if there's good teams, there's also bad teams at the RMR, or teams that performed badly. And I think two teams you have to name out of the gate are going to be someone like OG, obviously not getting a whole lot of wins. They had a lot of favorable matchups, and still this whole roster situation of OG where they can't find a lineup that can consistently produce for them continues. Bad News Eagles we're going to put down here because they've been such an exciting team over the various major cycles over the past 2 years. They caused no real significant upsets in this RMR stage, and failing to qualify is extremely painful for a community that really roots for them to be able to take that next step forward and become a little bit better of a team. But most importantly, you obviously can't get out of the bad section without mentioning Astralis. A name brand organization, the most successful organization in Counter-Strike history. They had the best lineup of all time, and coming into this event, qualifying for the Copenhagen Major was everything to them. But it probably put a little bit too much pressure on the team, and for a lineup that had 4 of 2023's top 20 players, this was a massive underperformance. And I can't get away without having a little bit of criticism for Device, one of the GOATs of CSGO. We saw him missing standard op shots time and time again, shots that were his bread and butter throughout his Counter-Strike career. This event, we're well off the mark, and it was just underwhelming from Astralis, and they'll miss the Copenhagen Major. And obviously at this point in Counter-Strike, we can't forget about talking about Spirit, because they got Donk, they got Shiro, they got Chopper, they have a strong lineup as well and looking good. If we got a little bit worried and overhyped them after Katowice, now we have to look at this and say, this is a team that's not a shoo-in to make a deep run into the playoffs. There are things that can be exposed by their opposition, and they're going to have a tough time because everyone's going to be looking at Donk, everyone's going to be looking at them, and they're at the next stage of the journey, which is, can you succeed when the target's on your back? Last team we'll talk about is going to be Heroic. Now, Heroic's a team that obviously went through some crazy roster upheaval, and I'll be honest, looking at this team coming, after the roster changes were announced and the swaps were all announced, I look at them and I said, there's no way that these guys are going to be dangerous. I thought this team didn't look constructed all that well. It looked like kind of a desperate bid to pull things together. I thought Nertz would struggle as a star player coming into a brand new lineup, and all of that was proved wrong. Kixon has shown that he can be an in-game leader to mold this squad together. A big piece from Apex that he came over and actually has made this team pretty solid right out of the gate. Tesses and Shush continue to be fantastic role players. So Heroic, a well-earned qualification, and we'll see what they've got in Copenhagen.